All right, so we are live. And let's see. Why won't it come up? Go into comments. Let's see. One watching.
Okay. Yeah. It says we're live.
Okay, who are you? So the all right, gotta mute that. David Gray. Hey, David. Welcome, welcome. David's one of my regulars, Susie.
Nice.
We're going to give everyone a few minutes to show up, as we usually do, David. So until that happens. Okay, now why can't I hear Susie?
Because I'm not saying anything.
Oh, well, okay, that works. So, David, you tried that dandelion root tea yet? For watching. Everyone, please say hello so I know you're there.
This will be recorded, right?
Yes, this will be recorded for later. Okay, Reflect on Light is Charlie. Nikki at the everyday life of an OCD-ish chick.
Mm-hmm.
She's a ray of sunshine, Susie. Okay. All right, we're going to give everyone another minute or two to come on before we start the show. So how's everybody doing tonight? I'm glad you're showing up. Now, Susan, we typically get 7 to 9 people. The channel's just starting out. I'm so new to YouTube and how things work and whatever. It takes a while to build a community.
I think a lot of people probably watch the archived ones just because people schedule.
I think I average after we're off the air. I think I average about 80 to 90 people seeing the videos.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's nice. Maybe one day I'll get thousands, but you got to walk before you can run.
Yep. It takes a while to get the news out that you exist.
Yeah. Nikki at the OCD-ish chick has a channel, and she does backyard gardening. David is one of those people that he needs to go to Atlantic City or to Vegas or something, because every time I do drawings, he like wins everything. He's the one lucky guy. All right, for watching. So I'm going to start this. Welcome, everyone. And tonight we have an interesting topic to me and close to my heart, which is wildlife rescue and taking care of injured and orphaned wildlife. A lot of us find them in the streets or in the yard. And you may wonder, how is this connected to gardening? Well, if you don't have something or someone eating your garden, you're not part of the ecosystem. So those of us who garden in a way that's organic and natural, we're going to have wild visitors. And some people will panic and want to know how to exclude them from their gardens, but you really should welcome them, because each species has its own function in your garden, and it's not to eat all your produce. And very rarely will you find a wild animal that will eat everything unless it's a deer. They have been known. They prune my trees regularly in the front yard, but they're welcome.
Groundhogs.
Yeah,
Groundhogs. They'll eat
the
everything.
groundhogs eat all my squash, Susie. Every year they get all the squash. And I think they understand spoken words because we will watch a squash get almost ripe and we'll say, we'll pick that tomorrow and we'll go out and pick it. It's gone. But
Yep.
it's like they're listening. Oh, we better go ahead.
Well, they have a little schedule. They have like pick squash on this day.
Yeah.
And it's the night right before you're going to get it.
Right. But I also know the birds watch us with the berries. Because I've had them look at me and I'm heading to the berry bush and they'll swoop down and get a berry and fly off with it. Even the butterfly cabbage worm. Oh yeah, those are pollinators.
Yep.
Those are pollinators. I will plant extra plants, Nikki, and then actually pick up those animals and carry them over and give them something to eat. And I'm in the garden every day, so it's no big deal finding them. So I want everyone to say hi to Susie DeGrasse. Did I say it right this time, Susie? No?
Yep.
Okay. I met Susie.
No, you did. That's right.
Finally. I met Susie when I first moved to Georgia in 2014. I was volunteering at a local wildlife rescue facility. And Susie was there in her little scrubs, rescuing everything left to right and working her magic. And we have since both left that facility. And Susie went off on her own, and she's now got a nonprofit organization. What's the name of it, Susie? Primarily Possum.
Primarily Possum.
Mm-hmm. But she rescues much more than opossums. But opossums, they will steal your heart once you get over their initial appearance. They're wonderful animals, and she holds my hand, even though I've been rescuing 25 years. I'm fine giving other people advice, but then when it's me and it's up close, I forget everything I know. And she's been known to take my panic calls in the middle of the night. And she's like, I know she's rolling her eyes going, you know this. But
we all do need support.
Yeah. But anyway, so Susie, tell us a little bit about yourself. And I'm going to try to do a new banner while you're speaking. So primarily possums. And how do I get people to donate to you? Through Amazon wish list?
Well, on my website, there's the links to PayPal, Venmo, my Chewy wish list, and my Amazon wish list.
Okay.
There's also there's a ton of information. It's not just a money-making website. There's a weekly blog. There's a lot of frequently asked questions. There's story times for kids on the Resources for Kids page. And then on the Resources for Rehabbers page, there's pretty much every single research article written on possums ever is stored there. But I've been rehabbing since 2014. I was a librarian for 14 years. And when it was time to not be a librarian anymore, although I am always once a librarian, always a librarian, I knew it was time to follow another career path. And wildlife rehab was something I was always interested in. And it's something that it's a real struggle to do while having even a part-time job. And so I transitioned from librarian to being a rehabber. It started out, I was going to rehab everything. I wanted to have a little zoo here and rehab birds and turtles and mammals. And then after a couple of years of not sleeping during baby season, I realized that I had to specialize and focus on the species that I was most adept at and that worked together. So I ended up specializing in nocturnal mammals. So opossums, bats, bunnies, armadillos. So So everybody is awake at the same time, and everybody's asleep at the same time, and that works out really well. Uh, it also means I usually don't have to get up in the middle of the night, which I appreciate. Um, I do also take snakes, um, and other species here and there. The only species I don't accept are squirrels and raccoons, and deer. Um, just because I'm not set up for those three species. So I run my facility out of my home. I have a room called the rehab room and four, about to be five outside enclosures for pre-release, having an 8x8 built this month, so that I can more adequately meet everybody's pre-release needs.
Okay. Could you talk a little bit about why wildlife are not pets? I see David say you would like to have an opossum, and a caveat to that is, David, we need all the rehabbers we can get. We need you to mentor or find a mentor in the rehab community who can train you the proper care of the opossum. And then, depending upon what state you're in, they may require a license for you to be able to either rehab or take babies or to care for an injured adult. And I'll let Susie take it from there. Why is it a bad idea, Susie, to just have one as a pet without your special training?
Well, the babies of almost every species are super, super cute. Um, but just like human children, they grow up and they are maybe still cute, but they are not appropriate for indoor life. Squirrels will tear everything up in your house, they will pee all over it. Opossums have a very specific diet that they need to prevent diseases and metabolic deficiencies. The Nobody keeps bats as pets. Maybe fruit bats, but nobody. It's just not. I don't know anybody who's got a pet bat. Um, but wildlife belongs in nature where their role can be fulfilled. If we keep them as pets, then we're denying them their born right to be free. They are not domestic animals, which have a symbiotic relationship with humans. These animals are meant to be wild and free and will never be content, um, or reach their full potential being kept as house pets.
Yeah, David say nature is shrinking hugely.
Right. So we need to keep nature in nature.
So you have a list of species you want to talk to us about, and everyone who's listening, if you want to ask questions, throw a question up, and I'll interrupt Susie and read it for her, so that she doesn't have to worry about reading comments and talking at the same time. Of course, she
Okay.
might be able to do that, but I can't.
Right. No, I actually can't see any of the comments anyways, so
Okay,
it
good,
works
good.
perfect. So I was going to cover species in order of how they appear in nature. Right now, we're seeing baby squirrels falling out of trees, getting caught by cats. A lot of the information that I give you about the initial care for the squirrel is going to be the same, repeated for each other species, and I'll just reiterate that. Um, if you find a squirrel that's fallen out of the nest, um, first thing you want to do is you want to contain it in a cloth lined box. Um, if you have a heating pad, that with run an extension cord or a heated rice sock, put a heat source in with the baby and put the box out under the tree where the baby came from. Or if you don't know exactly which tree, just under the most likely tree. Um, Box, socks, and quiet is what is my new mantra. Um, for a rice sock, you'll fill a sock with rice and heat it in the microwave for 3 minutes, and that will provide the supplemental heat that all of the babies need. Um, if you find any baby animal, do not give them food or water. There's just too many negative consequences that can come from that. With squirrels, especially, we want them to be um, hungry and vocalizing so that mom can find them. So they're in you've got the baby, it's in a cloth lined box with a rice sock at the base of the tree. Um, want the baby vocalizing and calling for mom. If the baby is quiet, you can search on YouTube for baby squirrel sounds, and you can play those on a Bluetooth speaker, and that will call mom down. Um, Bring the baby in at night. I've got a couple people who have called me about. Uh, there was one, squirrels had built a nest in a car engine. Another one, squirrels had built a nest in a gutter, and the gutters got cleaned. So the people were panicking about what to do, and just said, put them in a cloth lined box, not a towel, because their little nails can get caught in there, and place it near where the nest is or the most likely area. Um, the you bring them in at night. For animals that are awake during the day, you would definitely want to bring them during the night. Mom is not going to be looking for them, and they're more likely to be predated upon. Um,
Nikki wants to know how long to wait before feeding them. At what point is it an orphan or an abandoned animal? How do you determine that?
we wait 36 hours, give mom an opportunity for 36 hours to come back and get their baby. And we never advise feeding or giving them anything by mouth.
So, so
But
what do you do with it at this point? It's been 36 hours. You brought the
so
baby
if
in.
it's been 36 hours, or if the babies has been in a cat's mouth, a lot of times if they fall out of trees, a cat will come pick it up and bring it to the house. Then you would call a rehabber.
How do you find one? How do you find rehabbers?
There is a website and an app called Animal Help Now. It's ahnow.org, and it automatically detects your location and will give you a list of rehabbers in your area and all of their contact information. You can also, how a lot of people find me is you can Google wildlife rescue near me, and I'm on Google Maps. And so if anybody in a several county area just types in wildlife rescue near me, I'll show up with my page and my phone number.
Susie, how do you become a certified or licensed wildlife rehabber?
Well, you don't actually have to know what you're doing. You just have to be able to pass a test. In other states, there are volunteer requirements and continuing education requirements. Um, but in Georgia, you just have to pass a test. My opinion is that getting a rehab license in Georgia without having prior experience volunteering is a license to kill wildlife, because somebody who has that permit can take in wildlife, not know what they're doing, and give improper care, um, usually leading to the death of the animal.
So I know just from my own training and certification, I'm certified in squirrels, reptiles, and opossums. I did spend a number of years as an emergency veterinary technician, which gave me some triage skills. Um, that people, even if you say don't feed them whatever, are going to try to feed them. And there's a saying, never feed a cold baby.
Right, and never feed cold formula.
Cold formula. never feed cow's milk.
Right.
You want to give diarrhea and have the baby die of dehydration, that's what you do. So what I tell people that call me and I can't get to them right away, or they can't bring the animal to me, which I usually will take to Susie or another friend of mine in North Georgia, uh, is Pedialyte, which
Yeah, I
helps.
can't recommend.
You don't like
I
it,
can't.
I say, and then you'll find
No, I
rehab.
can't recommend offering anything by mouth. You can recommend that. I cannot recommend that.
Okay, Susie says no. I say if you've had it more than 36 hours and you're going to keep it another, say, 12 or 14 hours before you can get it to me, I recommend a little bit of Pedialyte, only if it will lap. If it's not lapping, then get them to someone who can help immediately, sooner rather than later. Susie said she's going to slap me, but
No, no.
yeah. Okay, so Charlie has posted a link for people who want to read more about the benefits of squirrels. But maybe Susie can tell us how do squirrels benefit us. So people call them tree rats. They shoot them, they poison them, whatever. That's a really bad idea. Why, Susie? Oh, eat them. I've done that.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, when I was first married, it was the only meat we could have is what I could catch.
Wow.
Anyway, now she's not going to talk to me after this broadcast.
No, that's fine. I just haven't happened to eat a squirrel yet. I wouldn't. But if there was nothing else around to eat, who knows what would happen. Tofu cows do not exist in the wild. Squirrels' biggest benefit to humans is that they plant trees. There's a definite link between squirrels and reforestation. They don't find all of the nuts that they have hidden, and so they end up becoming little forest managers.
And do they help? How do they help us by their constant chewing?
Well, you can share what you learned about that, because I think that that's really interesting.
Yeah. Through my years of research and exposure to uh, the benefits of animals, and everyone here knows how much research I do all the time. I'm always reading and digging deep. Uh, Squirrels have a need, and rodents have a need to chew because their teeth continue to grow. And in order to keep the teeth filed down, essentially, they will chew. And so you have limbs that fall in the woods and decomposing wood, and they'll get down and they'll chew that. And it helps them keep their teeth filed. And most rodents will pee and poop as they eat or chew. And then the urine comes out and helps break down the cellulose in the decomposing wood, which helps it decompose faster and return back into the soil. So that's another function that rodents, including our friends the rats,
Mm-hmm.
the rats and the mice, and any rodent that you might want to think of, that's one of their purposes, is helping us uh, manage the forest flora.
Yep,
So
that's pretty cool.
how does she keep? Nikki wants to know, how do I keep squirrels from eating my peaches?
I don't know. Um, I don't have much training in wildlife conflict management. More about the rehab aspect. I do have some wildlife nuisance wildlife training, but I do not know how to keep them from eating your peaches. Although I know that they will take a bite of an unripe one and be like, ugh, and then they'll pick another unripe one, take a bite, ugh, and they'll keep on doing that until all your peaches are gone. But I don't know how to.
I need to ask Nikki, do you have a source of water near your peach tree? And if you don't, may I suggest you put in a bird bath, or put down a dish of water? Because a lot of times when animals bite into your fruit, they bite into your tomatoes, they're looking for moisture.
Mm.
So if there's not a source of water nearby, then that might be your problem. And this is Brucey the garden cat. Hey, Brucey. He's a show stealer. That was this it. A drive by Brucey. So what's
Yeah,
our
yeah.
anyone have any other questions to do with squirrels?
I do have one other resource on my webpage, primarypossums.org, under resources for rehabbers and under other species on that page. There is the emergency guide to stabilize and care for squirrels, and that gives detailed information about what I just spoke about with the caring and stabilizing an orphaned or um, possibly orphaned squirrel. So,
Wonderful.
so the next species. Were there any questions? Further questions about squirrels?
I don't see any.
Okay, so the next species I was going to talk about in order of who's being born is rabbits. A lot of people think that a baby rabbit alone in the nest is abandoned, and what I like to say is that even birds don't sit on their babies all the time. They have to fly off and get food for their babies. So if you find a nest of baby birds, most people don't think, oh, this nest has been abandoned. They just assume, well, mom or dad is going off and getting food. How are they going to eat if they are sitting on their babies all the time? Well, it's like that with rabbits, except mom only visits the nest twice a day, usually at dusk and dawn. The rest of the time, she's somewhere nearby and she's eating and eating and eating and eating so that she can provide milk for her kits. If you do find a rabbit's nest, and they tend to build in areas that we find to be inconvenient, they humans have adapted incredibly quickly, and wildlife has not adapted to humans uh, that quickly. So they don't realize that they are building in our garden or in our lawn. They just think that they've found a suitable nest site. They will build in dog pens, are a special strange favorite. That's because they are prey species. Uh, Mom is when she nurses them, she's sitting on there and she wants a 360-degree view of predators, and usually dog pens and yards offer that. So that's one reason why they build there. If you do find a rabbit's nest in your lawn, uh, just mow around it, leaving a wide circumference. They're only going to be in the nest for 2 weeks, and then they hop away. And it's a slightly messy lawn is a small price to pay for fostering wildlife. Um, Generally, if you find a rabbit's nest, leave it alone. Mom is around, she's feeding her babies, they're going to be gone in about 2 weeks. If you do have concerns, you can sprinkle flour around the nest. There's a lot of different uh, ideas on how to tell if mom's visited the nest, and like putting crisscrosses or string, or the flour seems to work the best because then you can see her little footprints. um, so mowing around it. So sprinkling the flour, you can see the footprints. If you have dogs and the dogs have discovered the nest, you can get an inexpensive laundry basket and cut an entrance and an exit hole and then stake it down over the nest. And mom will be able to go in and get out safely. And they do not relocate their babies, and they cannot find their babies if they have been moved more than a foot away. So you can't just pick up the babies and move them to another part of the yard and expect mom to find them. She won't. Um, if they've
And
been injured,
I'm sorry, they're
hmm,
incredibly difficult for even an experienced rehabber to
yes,
say.
yes. If they're injured, if you mowed or weed whacked them, or if they've been in a cat's mouth, they immediately need to get to a rehabber.
Cat's
So,
mouths are incredibly dirty, y'all. When they bite an animal, it'll cause infection, and it really needs an experienced rehabber to take care of.
Well, when a person gets bit by a cat, they usually end up in the emergency room. I mean, it's a bad bite. It's a bad bite, and it gets really terribly infected.
Neem.
So, yeah,
Neem. I think I've got an incredibly strong titer. this cat
yes.
this cat bites me once or twice a week. So
Oh no, no, no. Yeah, I'd have to have a serious discussion with my cat if he ever bit me. He is not allowed. Not allowed. Um, so that's what I have. Basically, leave rabbits alone. Um, if they are injured or have been caught by a cat, box socks and quiet. Get them to a rehabber. Don't offer anything by mouth. Uh, it's very easy to aspirate them, and then they've got aspiration pneumonia on top of being injured. So just don't do it. Um, the next species that we're going to start seeing after right now we're seeing the squirrels, we're starting to see the bunnies soon. The next species that we'll start seeing is opossums, a favorite of Lisa's and mine. Um, Mom can have up to 14 babies at a time, and she can't count. And so if one falls off her back when she's carrying it, she doesn't know she's lost it. Um, if she's walking through a yard and gets spooked by a dog or spooked by a person, she'll quickly run off, and sometimes the babies fall off. A baby by itself definitely needs care. Mom is not going to come back for it. Even if you've seen possums in your yard or have a porch possum, there's no guarantee that that specific mom is going to come back. So never ever leave a baby opossum out for mom to find it, because she won't.
did
They
your
need to.
waiter recognize that the possum's old enough to be on its own?
Um, they say like 6 inches. Um, they will den under people's houses or under porches sometimes, and the babies will come out and sometimes end up in houses. Um, if they're a pound and up, they're fine on their own. 450 grams and up, they're fine. They're off doing their own thing. But smaller than that, they definitely need help. It's always a good idea to just contain it. What I tell people is, like, any animal that you have that's out of a nest, don't take things from nests. But any animal that is a baby and that's out of a nest, and you have concerns, it's always a good idea to contain it and then ask questions later, rather than wonder whether it's okay, talk to a rehabber, find out it needs help, and then you can't find the baby again. No harm is done by containing a stray baby that's wandering around.
Keep it dark, keep it warm, call an
Box,
expert.
box socks and quiet. Yep. And
Uh,
if you talk to a rehabber and it turns out, no, that baby is old enough to be on its own, you can just let it go. Yeah. One important with the box socks and quiet, definitely keep children away from baby animals. Baby animals are not educational toys for children. It is not an educational experience uh, bestowed upon the family by the wild animal. This you can take a photo and show the photo to the kids. You can talk to the kids about what's going on, but don't subject the baby to children.
Good advice. Nikki is asking, are dogs' mouths just as nasty as cats' mouths?
No, nope. And dogs tend to have a soft mouth. Sometimes dogs will find babies, and certain species of dogs definitely. They're not dogs are all one species. Certain breeds of dogs um, have a very protective nature, and they will find a baby and they will pick it up very gently with their mouth, with a soft mouth, and bring it to their owner and be like, "I found a baby. Help the baby." Uh, but dogs tend to, if they find a wild animal, if it's a baby, they're either going to eat it or they're going to try and help it. Cats aren't the same.
It's a toy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might
Okay.
be food too. Cats do eat things.
Speak of the devil.
He's back.
He's back.
Yeah. My cat and my dog are both leaving me alone. Usually, when they hear me talking to the computer, they will come by and have something to say, but they're off in other parts of the house.
This is my 19-year-old born feral under a palm tree in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. That sounds nice, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
I came to me before his eyes were open, and I bottle raised him. So he's a rescue,
Aw.
aren't you, Brucey? That's enough for right now, I guess. What
So
else?
uh, the next species I wanted to talk about was bats. All bats around the country are born in the same 1 week period at the end of May to early June. Um, and because of this, suddenly the nurseries become extremely crowded. So you go from having 50 moms to having 50 moms and 50 babies, or if they have twins, then 75 babies. And
I had
babies will
a call one
fall out.
time with
Hmm?
someone near me with a bat, and I knew Susie had just gotten certified with the bats. And I called her, and I had her on speakerphone, and I was sitting in the car with the guy that had found the bat, was going to give it to me, and she's begging me, don't handle it, don't handle it, Lisa, don't touch it. And she has some choice things about the people who knocked it out of their attic with their broom. And he's standing there listening, and I'm like, shh, shh. Susie, but would you tell us why we don't want to pick it up with bare hands? If you
Bats are
have
a rabies vector species. They can carry rabies. They can get it from their mom um, early. So even a bat being a baby isn't a guarantee that it doesn't have rabies. They can live for a year shedding the virus, so being positive for rabies without actually dying from it. So just because a bat is acting normal, um, or not acting visibly rabid, whatever people define rabid as looking, that doesn't mean that a bat isn't rabid. Now, only about 5 to 10% of bats um, carry rabies, so it's very low. But they are a rabies vector species, and you never want to handle one without gloves.
So what's a rabies vector species, Susie?
A rabies vector species is a species that can carry, basically it can carry rabies without being rabid.
And what
Uh,
what can you name a few of them for us?
uh,
RBS.
fox, fox, skunk, raccoon, coyote, bats, sometimes groundhogs.
Really?
Um, yeah. So, but those are the main species: the fox, bats, skunks, raccoons, coyotes, and sometimes groundhogs.
So how did you get? What did you have to do to be able to handle the RBS species?
I had to get the rabies pre-exposure vaccinations, which I did a fundraiser for because they was about $1,000, and then I had to take a test.
Written
So
text? Yeah.
yeah. So once again, like if you have the money and you're good at test taking, you can get your permit to handle rabies vector species without really knowing what you're doing at all. So I had worked with had volunteered with that facility that you mentioned, um, and learned the basics of working with rabies vector species. But a lot of my knowledge is just from reading, self-taught, and learning as I went along.
Well, bless you for doing it.
Oh, I love the bats. I love them.
What
Uh,
about
So a lot of when the maternity colonies for the cave dwelling species like Mexican freetails and big browns, they have big maternity colonies. And when the babies are born, the population suddenly explodes and babies will get knocked out uh, because these are primarily cave dwelling species. In their minds, wherever they are is a cave. And on a cave floor, there's going to be insects and other predators, which will immediately be snatching up the baby bats if they fall to the ground. So big browns and Mexican freetails, the colony bats, will not look for their babies. That's just, oh dear, the baby fell. So mom is not coming back for that baby. Um, with the tree dwelling species like our red bats, um, they stay with mom and fly around with mom. Sometimes they fall off. Um, she can't if the she can't take off from the ground holding on to her baby. Uh, so if the baby falls and she's able to get it to latch back on and she can get over to a vertical surface that is climbable and she can climb up because they have to be up at least 6 feet off the ground in order to launch and fly. So there's just too many conditions in which it's going to be impossible to guarantee a reunion with a bat and its mother. So any baby bat by itself needs to be brought into rehab. Same basic care instructions: box, socks, and quiet. Always handle the baby with gloves. You can put a towel over the baby and scoop it up and put it in a box. Um, but yeah, any baby bat found alone definitely needs to be brought into rehab. And a newborn baby bat is about the size of a grape, very, very small.
And why do we need bats?
They consume their weight in mosquitoes and other insects every night. They pollinate. They're responsible for pollinating the agave flower, which is tequila. So if you need that as a reason to protect bats. But yeah, they're wonderful insectivores. They work better than pesticides for keeping damaging insect populations down. Not just mosquitoes, but also some of the crop destroying moths. They eat those as well. They love the little moths.
We forgot to ask you about what do the opossums do for us?
They are one of nature's sanitation engineers. They are uh, opportunistic omnivores. They'll eat everything. So they eat fallen fruit, they eat rats, mice, and venomous snakes. They eat dead stuff.
Ticks.
Um, they eat ticks. They eat grubs and other crop damaging and garden damaging slugs, snails. So you're lucky if you've got an opossum in your yard.
Yeah.
Um, they are beneficial in so many ways. Also, there are only marsupial. They're pretty darn cool.
Yeah. So Nikki makes the observation: sanitation engineers,
Yep, garbage men. Yep,
garbage men
raccoon. Yeah,
with long.
raccoons. Yeah, raccoons are sanitation engineers as well,
Yeah, but they're RVS. So I,
and they
I, I
all.
prefer a possum to a raccoon.
Yeah, yeah, opossums you can handle with bare hands. Although it's always a good idea just for the um, how do I put it? Just for cleanliness and your own safety, it's always good to wear gloves when handling wild animals.
Yeah, Nikki says slugs are the worst. Nikki, when I have wild possums, and Susie will tell you we've got to keep them wild so we don't cuddle them and handle them, whatever. But I did bring them treats when I was in the garden, and I would find slugs. I'd put them in a solo cup. then I'd take them in. I called them slime candy because I
Yes.
empty them in the cage, and here come the babies. Nom, 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 nom. They're eating their
Yes.
slime.
Yep.
And then someone ruined my fun by telling me that's how they get lungworm. That's how the
Well,
possums get lungworm is eating the slugs. And I'm like, they only live 2 years. Let them enjoy their slime candy. But
yeah. Well,
I
we
digress.
in rehab we deworm them before they go out into the world. So
When they
if
first
they
come home.
have, yeah, if that gets rid of any parasites that they may have gotten by eating slugs or snails or earthworms. All those things carry parasites that are that the opossums get.
Two more points I want to make before we move on to another species is people say, oh, they're possums in their trees eating their fruit. And I maintain that their jaws are not constructed so that they can bite into a large piece of fruit that hasn't softened up. So that
Right.
piece of fruit that they're eating has started to rot, right? And
Yeah.
do possums kill adult chickens? It's a sticky question.
They are way more interested in the eggs because they don't like to have to work that hard. It's much easier to just go in and grab an egg and then take a nap in a nest box. I can't say that they never kill adult chickens, but my question is, um, it should be secure enough so that no animal is getting into your chicken pen.
Right, right. And what about our horse lovers who will talk about EPM?
So,
Susie's frozen. She'll be back when she's not frozen. Uh, and I never know what to say to a
oh, yeah.
person other than keep your horses healthy. You won't have to worry about the protozoa. And she's frozen.
Also, cat. I'm frozen.
Now you're
Oh
not.
no. Okay. As far as EPM, that's also carried by cats. They're also a host for it. Um, it's no guarantee that it's come from opossums. If you keep your hay clean, keep it stored uh, in a sanitary manner, you're not going to expose the horses won't be exposed to EPM. Barn cats are great in that they kill rats and mice in the barn, but they also do carry EPM. So it's as much of a concern as having opossums around.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Let's go next animal. What animal do you have next?
Armadillos.
Oh my God, they're so much fun.
They are so much fun. They are very, very cute. And most of the ones that come into rehab have been kidnapped. Um, once they uh, once they're about a month old, 6 weeks old, they will start leaving the den and foraging alongside mom, and they will wander off. Um, and the only time that an armadillo needs to come into rehab is if it's lethargic, injured, or if there's been recent excavation. Seeing a dead adult is not a guarantee that it's that mama. It could be a male. Um, so most baby armadillos that come into rehab were unfortunately kidnapped because somebody found it by itself, didn't just wait and observe the situation. If the baby was acting normal and just doing its armadillo thing, that baby is fine. Just leave it alone. It's got a mom. It's got 3 siblings. Um, that's the big thing about armadillos is that please just don't kidnap them. They're doing their own thing
And
unless
just
they're injured.
unless they're injured, and just because we tell you something's fun or cute doesn't mean you want to go out and get one.
No, and armadillos can carry various diseases, so you don't want to go around picking up and licking an armadillo.
Oh, that's so lick an armadillo. That sounds like the thing to do. You want leprosy? No. Actually, leprosy is found in armadillos west of the Mississippi, and only in about, was it 7% of them, Susie? Have you read anything about leprosy and armadillos
It's
recently?
actually, we gave leprosy to armadillos first. Leprosy is the oldest known disease to humans, and it was brought over uh, to South America during the slave trade, and we're not sure how it jumped species. They're vulnerable to it. They don't necessarily all carry it. They're as vulnerable to it as we are. Most North Americans have a natural immunity to leprosy, which is called Hansen's disease. Um, as as armadillos have made their way into the United States, and they are even as far north as Nebraska, we do see Hansen's disease in the armadillo population. It's a very small percentage. In the South, about 10% of armadillos are natural carriers of leprosy. As long as you wash your hands. I mean, I spend a lot of time with armadillos and I don't have leprosy, but it can take years for symptoms to develop. So maybe I do, and I just don't know it.
But it's
Um,
curable.
it's curable. Yes, it's we have this irrational fear just because of disinformation campaign about them. As long as you're not eating, killing and eating the armadillo, you're not going to get Hansen's disease. So please don't eat armadillos. That's who's getting it. In Brazil, the people who are getting Hansen's disease are the people who are eating armadillos.
Exactly. That's what Charlie just posted. The only cases of transmission from armadillos to humans have occurred in rare incidents in which people ate undercooked armadillo meat. So just be
Yeah, so
safe.
if
Don't
you're
pick
going to eat an
up
armadillo, cook it well.
the tail. Oh. So obviously there are all sorts of other species that people find injured on the road. Uh, Fox are very specialized. You may have seen the photo I put for the advertisement for tonight's live. Is an adorable shot of Susie sitting with a fox between her knees and it's looking up at her saying, "I love you." Tell us what happened with that fox, Susie.
Well, she either had toxoplasmosis or feline distemper. The toxoplasmosis causes something called dopey fox syndrome, and it makes them very calm and tame acting. She's with me a month now. She's been treated, and she is no longer a dopey fox. She is ready to go. She does not like me anymore. She bites me. She pees on me. She is, as soon as the weather clears up, she is getting released back where she was found.
Yeah, that's another
So,
thing. If you find wildlife, write down where you found them because when they're rehabbed, your rehabbers who are worth their salt are going to get that animal back to where it came from because
mhm.
that's its home range.
Yep,
If you and correct me if I'm wrong, Susie, because Susie knows more than I do. Uh, Relocated wildlife will not survive usually.
right.
So
Yep.
if you
Either they
trap
won't
wildlife,
survive, or
yeah,
they can also introduce diseases into a new population if they're relocated.
so these people who trap wildlife in their gardens or in their yards and take them 10 miles up the road are killing the wildlife.
Well, and another animal is just going to move into the hole filled by the removed animal. So,
So learn to live with your wildlife, learn to love your wildlife. Susie has this Facebook page. If I'm sure she wouldn't mind if you popped in and asked a question. Uh, she has resources on her page telling you where to go, who to call, uh,
yeah,
and use those skills in your state wherever you are. If you decide you want to do rehab, do find another rehabber and let them mentor you and give you the proper training for whatever species you think you want to specialize in. And it's an interesting community to be a member of. I will tell you that each and every one of us has our own philosophy and approach to wildlife, and it can be quite political. But what matters most is the animal.
yep,
And if you're making a positive impact and saving a life in a proper way, and ensuring that that animal can survive on its own in the wild, you have, in my opinion, brought blessings upon yourself and that animal and all of us, because we need every single wild animal out there, and that includes those tomato worms.
Which make delicious opossum snacks.
Oh, munchy. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I would
And
like to direct people to my website, which has Facebook page is much more social, but my website has a lot more actual hard information. And that's primarily possums.org.
okay.
And a recording of this will be available on there if that is possible.
Okay, no
Or
space.
a link to the recording.
Let me see if I can find it, and I'll put the URL up there. Primarily possums diet.
.org.
Apostrophe possums, right?
No, it just it's just primarily possums.org.
All
You
one big
can't put
word.
a
All
post
right.
right.
Oh, how cute! Talk about the white of the tips of the ears of the young possum, Susie. When do they lose that
Oh
white?
yes, when they're born, everything is pink. Pink, pink, pink. Little pink ears, little pink nose, little pink toes. And then as they get older, the melanin starts to suffuse through their ears, and their fur starts growing in dark. Um, and by the time they're adults, the majority of them will have completely black ears. But I've seen adult opossums that still have pink on their ears. But yeah, it's really neat watching the melanin slowly um, fill out their ears. Little pink ears.
And why don't we rescue deer?
Uh, I'm not set up for it. You have to soft release deer. It's not like you can load them up in a trailer and take them someplace. When they're ready to go, you have to open up your pen and let them go. And I live on a busy highway, so that's why I don't do deer. And I
So
don't do raccoons because you have to have caging that's just for them because they carry raccoon roundworm, which is extremely contagious.
before I let you go, could you talk to us about why we don't want to rescue baby birds? Or when do we look, don't touch? That's a whole nother topic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a whole nother topic. Yeah, leave baby birds alone. A lot of species are raised by two parents, and so even if one is dead, the other one is going to pick up the slack. A couple different species nest on the ground or low to the ground, uh, like mourning doves and pigeons will nest in shrubs. And during the fledgling state between where they've left the nest and where they can fly is that's the most dangerous time for them to get kidnapped, when they are actually being very closely watched by their parents and they are perfectly fine.
Look, don't touch.
Yep.
Keep your cats in if you see fledglings
Keep
in
your
your garden.
cats inside. Yes. Cats should always be inside,
So
in my
before we
opinion.
say good night, because I know you said you only had half an hour and you've been on an hour, girlie. Um, would you let us know, those of us who are inclined to uh, answer a wish for you? Or you have any particular needs heading into baby season where you won't be getting any sleep?
If somebody could send me some sleep, that would be. I would like some
I
extra
guess we
hours
need
in
some
the
edibles.
day. Yeah. Um. Uh. On my, I keep my wish lists on Chewy and Amazon updated. Funds in general are very appreciated, as that's what goes towards medical care. Um, uh, so right now, what I'm really looking to do is just to fundraise in general, to raise money to cover medical costs. I
And
spend
you
several
take
$1,000s.
you've got veterinarians at is at the University of Georgia that are
No, I do not. No, I don't work with UGA if possible. They do have a wildlife clinic. I have my own vet who I deal with.
who's very good, I guess.
Hmm.
First name
Yeah.
basis with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes. Of course. Yes. I have spent thousands thousands and thousands there.
So yeah, Susie has all sorts of success stories, and it's up to her if she wants to say goodnight or share some memorable times. It's up to you,
Well,
Susie.
this fox is a great success story. Because I was like, well, I'm going to have to find educational placement for this fox. She's just too tame. But nope, she was just sick. And she just needed the right medicine and time to recover. And now she's ready to go back and and she got a rabies shot. So now she's protected against rabies and she's going to go back and be a healthy, productive member of her pack.
Did you spay her, or is she going out in the
No, I
wild?
had not. No, I had not spayed her yet.
Good. So she's
No.
going to be a fully functioning foxy lady.
Yes, yes, she will. Yes, she will.
Uh,
Well, thank
well,
you so much for this opportunity. I've really enjoyed it and appreciate it. And thank
and
you.
don't forget me if you've got someone this side of the woods and
Yep.
needs transport. I'll be more than happy to triage and
Okay. All
okay. So
right.
thank you, Susie. We're going to hang around and have a drawing for seed. Are you doing any gardening this year? You can hang around and compete for it.
Um, I really have to cool my jets on the gardening as much as I want to do it. I really don't have enough time to maintain them. So
Okay.
into
Well, try to get your naps in because your shoe will go a couple of days without sleeping.
flowers and things like that. I've frozen.
You're kind of frozen, but
Oh,
you'll be back in a minute and then we'll say goodnight. Here you
I,
are.
yeah.
All right. So thank you so much. Nikki says thank you, Susie.
So, well, thank you again.
And
You're
more people
welcome.
watching this as time goes by and they'll discover you online, I'm sure. Okay. Night, Susie.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Bye.
Bye. So that was Susie DeGrasse. And I wish we had hundreds and thousands of more people like Susie out there taking care of our natural resources. So thank you, Nikki. Evidently, our audience isn't too interested. We're down to two people. Um, and one of them is my husband. So it looks like just you in the chat. But I know people will tune in and watch this as time goes on. I do have 5 likes. Hope you hit the like. Uh, not much of a competition for a drawing, but if you do you have anything on your seed wish list, Nikki? Yeah, I thought it was information. I was kind of disappointed not as many more people showed up, but as I say, most of my views come after the broadcast. So hopefully other people will decide they want to see what this was about. Yes, that's what replays are for. So do you have any type of seed you've been looking for? You should see my edible flowers. They're like that tall. None of my cosmos came up. There's like 4 species of cosmos I planted and none of them germinated, which I found interesting. I see that my husband posted that birds are protected by federal laws under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1918, and unless you're a licensed rehabilitator, it's illegal to keep wild birds in your possession. And Susie does wonders with wild birds. You're good, huh? Okay. So unless there's something you want to talk about, maybe we should just wish each other a good night. And until next time, I'm still trying to get an extension agent or a agricultural research professor to agree to come on a live with us and talk about climate change. Uh, Maybe I need to not call it climate change when I'm approaching them because I think that's too political. But I don't know if you're like me and you're noticing a big swing in temperatures and changes in season. where we're going from winter crops to mid-spring temperature crops back to winter. How do we plan for that, and how do we how do we need to adjust our growing season? I think is something I'd like some experts to talk about how to do. I know there's got to be professors at ag research universities who are looking into this because it's going to impact our food chain and our food supply. Yeah, you can't deny something is happening. I'm just now getting my lettuce in after replanting, after that freeze, and it's already getting up to 80 degrees on some days. And that lettuce is going to go bitter just immediately. So I'll keep looking. Might call my alma mater, and I used to work for the ag research station at Auburn. I'll call and see. In fact, at one time, one of the professors I worked for was the department chair. So maybe I'll call and shame somebody into coming and talking to us. So what do you think, Nikki? There's now 3 in here. Who else came in? It's Nikki, my husband, and someone else. Who else is here? Speak up. Shy people. All right, so good night, Nikki. Good night, whoever just popped in. Watch the replay. Maybe you'll get something out of it. And if you go to Susie's page, Facebook page, or the other link I put up for you for her regular website, you can ask her questions and find help. And those of you who are just kind of tisk-tisking are going to find a baby animal. You watch, and you're going to say, "What did Lisa and Susie say about this?" But she'll always be there for you. Okay? So until next time, see ya.